What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another reaction video. We got great in the 2020 NFL draft 5 years later. Let's check this out.
The 2020 NFL draft class is 5 years in.
It's had a lot of questionable draft picks in this draft, bro. I'm not even gonna lie.
First round, which is pick 17 through 32. This draft took place during COVID, and Commissioner Roger Goodell was announcing the selections from his house.
This shit
there were
was
some
weird,
incredibly talented players from this class, as you'll see in today's video, and unfortunately some all-time draft busts too.
That nigga Damon Arnett, bro, fucking crash out.
Last week if you're interested, and that will be linked at the end. We will be going in reverse order, so we will be starting with the Chiefs selection of running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire and finishing with the selection of Cowboys
on the Saints now, right?
We have 16 picks to grade, so let's dive right in. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was the final pick of the first round back in 2020 and was
I didn't even know bro was a first round pick.
He had a productive first year in 2020 as he had 1,100 yards from scrimmage. Unfortunately, his production decreased year over year and he peaked in his rookie season. He also missed some time due to injury during the 2022 season, and ultimately a 7th round pick took his job, named Isaiah Pacheco. CEH had moments throughout his Chiefs tenure, but even when he was relied on, he was never the best player, and the moments he had occurred less and less as time went on.
Shit, hey, I still fuck with him for fumbling against my Ravens, bro. I remember that Sunday night primetime game.
For the Saints in 2024, an average just 3.5
That was like back in 2021.
Unfortunately, it is more than fair to say Clyde's best days are behind him. There's a reason running backs want to get paid when they have the opportunity, and it's because if they miss the opportunity, it's gone. Clyde has less than 2,000 career rushing yards and has just 19 career touchdowns, and this grade is a D.
Okay.
Jeff Gladney was the Minnesota Vikings' second first-round pick of the night after
I think I remember hearing about this.
So they could draft receiver Brandon Ayuk. Unfortunately, Jeff is no longer with us.
Yeah. R.I.P. to bro. Because I was gonna say something about it, but I wasn't, you know what I'm saying, 100% sure.
From a football standpoint, he was picked on as a rookie back in 2020.
Yeah, R.I.P. to bro, man.
Which is to be expected for any rookie corner, especially in a year where there were no preseason games, to learn from any sort of game experience. Jeff was released by the Vikings in August of 2021 due to an indictment for domestic violence, but I want this to be clear, he was found not guilty in March of 2022. He was picked up by the Cardinals shortly after before passing away in a car crash in May of 2022. Gladney was 25 years old at the time of his death, and may Jeff Gladney continue.
That shit's so sad, bro.
The Dolphins selected
Noah Igbinoghene. He no longer on the team.
30th pick in the first
on the
round.
Commanders now.
The third first-round pick of the night. The other two were Tua, of course, and offensive tackle Austin Jackson. Igbinoghene was a very young first-round pick back in 2020, as he was 20 years old for most of his rookie season and didn't turn 21 until late November. And because of this, I thought a lot of patience was going to be required with the selection.
But like, Igbinoghene's not a bad corner, bro. I think he's solid.
Moments early in his career, and he did, but he never panned out for the Dolphins the way they hoped. He was traded prior to the 2023 season to the Cowboys in a rare player-for-player exchange, as he was traded for Cowboys corner Kelvin Joseph. He played one season for Dallas before becoming a free agent prior to the 2024 season, and ultimately signed with Washington, which is where he is today. He didn't play bad for the Commanders in 2024 relative to what was expected, but this is grading how he played in Miami. And he played in 32 of 50 possible games for Miami during his 3 years there, and was not good when he played. 5 years later, this is an F.
Damn.
Offensive tackle Isaiah Wilson was pick Titans.
I don't know who this is, bro. I'm gonna keep it a buck.
Almost zero footage of me to show from Wilson's career, as he played 4 snaps for his entire career. 4. They were all against the Colts in Week 12 of 2020.
See, here we go, bro.
His entire career.
Just because they had Georgia Bulldog don't mean they always need to go in the first round.
They were all against the
if it's defensive wise, yeah, offense questionable. I'm not gonna lie, bro.
A 7th round pick. He was waived by the Dolphins 3 days later for missing a physical and missing 2 workouts. The Giants signed him to their practice squad in September, and he was released a few months later. Some NFL stories are long and some are short, and he played 4 snaps for the team that drafted him in the first round, and I honestly don't think it's unfair to say this is the biggest draft bust in NFL history. At least Ryan Leaf and Jamarcus
4 snaps is
and
crazy,
NFL
bro.
games for their teams. Isaiah Wilson played 4 career snaps, an F grade.
Damn.
Patrick Queen was the Ravens'
PQ now. My thing about PQ, hey, Steelers fans, y'all were really happy when he, you know what I'm saying, when y'all signed him. I'm gonna tell y'all right now, he was not good until Roquan came along. Roquan was the reason why PQ had a breakout year. Let's be for real, gang. So don't expect this nigga to be an all-pro linebacker, bro. I'm telling y'all right now.
at the time because I thought for sure the Seahawks.
He had got benched at one point before, you know what I'm saying, we traded for Roquan.
Jordan Brooks instead. And because of that, I absolutely loved the selection when it was made, and it reminded me of the Ravens drafting Kyle Hamilton and Tyler Linderbaum a couple of years later, just good players falling into their laps. Queen had 3 100 total tackle seasons during his time in Baltimore, and the only season he didn't have 100 tackles was back in 2021, when he had, you guessed it, 98 total tackles. Now, tackles aren't everything, and we've discussed that before on the channel, but I think personally that I've underappreciated what Patrick Queen has accomplished through the years. During his final year in Baltimore, he was a Pro Bowler as well as a second-team All-Pro, and he was also a Pro Bowler in 2024 with the Steelers too. Now, what he does in Pittsburgh does not factor into this grade, and that applies to every draft pick, but Patrick Queen has never missed a game in his career, and he plays at a pretty high level. He misses a tackle or two more than you'd like, but he's a really solid player, and the Ravens got a lot of production out of a player drafted late in the first round. 5 years later, this is a B+.
I don't fuck with how he just go to the Ops, though, bro. Like, that shit crazy. You could have went to any other team, but you go to the Ops, nigga? That's crazy. I'm not gonna lie.
Brooks was the Seahawks.
Jordan Brooks? I fuck with Jordan Brooks.
And while I
don't know why they let him go.
He played a lot better than I initially thought he would. He started 55 games.
He with the Dolphins now, right?
4 years with the team and had near perfect attendance as he played in 63 of 67 possible games for Seattle and only missed 2 total games in his final 3 seasons with the team. And due to how violent the sport is, that's a bigger battle than you may initially think, is staying healthy. Brooks is now a Dolphin as he signed a 3-year deal with Miami last offseason, and he had a really good year for Miami in 2024 as he had over 140 tackles, had 11 tackles for a loss, and even had 3 sacks as an off-ball linebacker. The one big knock with Jordan is he gets picked on in coverage quite a bit, and that happened during his time in Seattle, and even happened during his time in Miami in 2024 too. Overall, his time in Seattle was okay for a first-round pick. You can certainly say that Seattle could have hoped for a little more from a first-round pick, but like we've seen throughout the draft grade videos, they could have done a lot worse. A B- grade.
Okay.
Jordan Love was the
J-Lo. Now, this was hella questionable at the time because of A-Rod. But now, looking back at this pick, it was smart as hell. I'm not going to lie. So, this is probably like an A grade. I'm not going to lie to you.
This is a complicated pick to grade. On one hand,
because he's been pretty good, you know what I'm saying? Interceptions have been crazy, but
on the other hand, he
I mean, he's made the playoffs in both his seasons starting so far. So
his career. And during his rookie season, Green Bay lost in the NFC Championship game and the divisional round of the playoffs the following season. Do things change if they draft T. Higgins instead? I don't know, but why this pick is also complicated is Jordan Love played really well during the 2023 season, but I don't think he played at the same level in 2024, and I also don't think he was fully healthy throughout the year, despite playing in 15 of 17 games after a pretty nasty injury in Week 1 against the Eagles.
Yeah.
He has back-to-back 25-plus passing touchdown seasons, and honestly, I do think he is a tad underrated at the moment due to how he played in 2024. That, again,
he got to cut down on turnovers, bro.
I think there are several grades you can go
with here. He lives and dies by his gunslinging mentality, bro. He need to chill on that. I'm not gonna lie.
Love pick, but ultimately 5 years later, we gave this an A-.
Okay.
Brandon Ayuk was the 6th receiver taken in the first round of the 2020 draft.
I'm hoping he's able to stay healthy, bro. But it's crazy how he did all that shit in the offseason just to put like dog shit in 2021.
Then clearing the 1,000-yard mark for the first time.
I think he's gonna bounce back though.
Then exploded onto the scene with a
1,300-yard
year in 2023, in which he was named a second-team All-Pro. There was a lot of drama around Ayuk during the 2024 summer, and I think this soured some people on Brandon Ayuk relative to the player he is when healthy, causing them to diminish what he has accomplished in the league. I am a firm believer that he was not 100% in 2024 before he unfortunately tore his ACL and MCL, and that he was slowly working his way back to being the player he was in 2023. He is a really good player when healthy, but is also overshadowed by 2 guys in this class in CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson, which is unfortunate for Ayuk. I also think there are a lot of teams that will love to have Brandon Ayuk on their roster, most notably a team like the Patriots, but he is kind of difficult to grade. He has just shy of 300 career receptions and has 25 career receiving touchdowns, and 5 years later, we gave this an A-.
Okay.
Cesar Ruiz was the Saints' first-round pick in 2020, and he has mostly played right guard for them through the first 5 years.
I heard he's been solid.
Ruiz has his ups and downs as a player, and I know he's not a household name by any means, but this is also a trickier pick to grade than you may think. On one hand, he's not a great player, and he's not a guy that will make 4 or 5 Pro Bowls by the end of his career, and a player that will be inducted into the Saints Ring of Honor. But on the other hand, he's probably going to start 85 or 90 or even 100 games for the Saints over the course of his career, if not more. He was a 21-year-old rookie, so he is just 26 years old, and he could realistically play for another 5 or 6 years and nobody would bat an eye. But he's also not great, and I think he is, in the grand scheme of things, an average player. I don't think there's any particular phase in his game where he's elite, nor do I think there's any area in his game where he's weak either. He's just a guy along the offensive line, and the Saints could have made a much worse selection than Cesar Ruiz, and 5 years later, I do give a slight bonus for playing 13 games or more in every season of his career.
Okay.
Ultimately, we gave this a C+. Kenneth Murray for the Chargers was up, and it was a long
he was mainly
years
just
in LA
speed, for real.
He racked up a lot of
But
tackles
he
during his
ended up
time
being
in LA,
solid
but
these
that's
last
not
couple
everything,
years.
and it especially
Where he at now? I think
shows
is he in
unfortunately
Dallas?
carried over to his tenure in Tennessee.
I think he is in
Based on
Dallas
the
now.
first 5 years of his career will probably carry over to Dallas too.
Yeah.
He reminds me a lot of Jamin Davis, a 2021 first-round pick, who, like Murray, does not have the instincts a good linebacker in the NFL needs to have, and there was a reason that despite playing in 59 of 67 possible games for the Chargers over the first few years of his career, that they were more than willing to let him go in free agency after the 23 season. Unfortunately, he missed more tackles than you would have liked as an inside linebacker, as his career missed tackle percentage is over 10%, and peaked in 2021 at over 19%. He is only 26, and I wish him the best in Dallas and wherever else he may go throughout the rest
Dallas
of his
is getting a
career.
whole bunch of
But
former
even
first-round
if he
picks,
completely
bro.
turns it around, this is based on his time in Los Angeles, and 5 years later, this gets a C-.
Alright.
Justin Jefferson
JJ A++, bro. Best receiver in the NFL. And it's crazy that Philly passed up on him to take Jalen Reagor, which will most likely be in this vid. Bro. I mean, they probably don't regret it now because they got A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, but damn, bro. Imagine Justin Jefferson and Devontae Smith on the same
has
team.
The most career receiving yards of any player through
That
first
shit
5
would have been
seasons.
crazy.
He has over 7,400 yards in 77 career games. He is a 4-time All-Pro and a 2-time first-team All-Pro, and has 3 seasons with 1,500 or more yards. He has 5 1,000-yard seasons in 5 years, and he actually had more yards per game in 2023 than he did in 2022, which was the year he won the Offensive Player of the Year. Unfortunately, Jefferson got hurt and missed some time, but he still won a 1,000-yard year in 2023. I don't think Jefferson received as much media attention in 2024 as he has in other years, whether it was due to Jamar Chase having a great year or
I think that was the case.
Whoever, but
Because he was like second in receiving yards, right, behind Chase.
Finished top 10 in Offensive Player of the Year voting. He isn't a player you factor into the game plan. He is the game plan for opposing defenses, and they still can't stop Jefferson. He is the most receiving yards per game in NFL history, and this is an easy A+.
Facts.
The Eagles
Here we go. This
when
a
they
F,
selected
bro.
TCU receiver Jalen Reagor with the
That is
21st pick.
crazy.
It was
They had the
consensus
Vikings
from
front
pretty much
office
everyone
laughing
that
at this
Justin
pick,
was
bro.
a better prospect than Jalen Reagor, but they still made the pick. Now, one thing that gets misconstrued over time is that Justin Jefferson was not a can't-miss prospect, and Jalen Reagor was not a horrible prospect either. Reagor was an early to mid-second round prospect, while Jefferson was a mid to late first round prospect himself. It was a gamble that unfortunately didn't pay off. In his first year with the Birds, Reagor had 31 receptions for 396 yards and a touchdown, and in his second season he had 33 receptions for 299 yards and 2 touchdowns. Everyone drafts busts at some point, but it's unfortunate the Eagles drafted a bust directly in front of a player who is on pace to be an all-time great. If there is any consolation within this, it's that the Eagles drafted a future Super Bowl MVP with their second-round pick in Jalen Hurts. And the Eagles are an extremely successful franchise year in and year out that made a significant draft blunder, but have done a lot of great things since. Unfortunately, the Reagor pick receives an F grade. K'Lavon Chaisson was a really good pass-rushing prospect from LSU, but unfortunately he didn't work out with the Jags.
bro.
Chaisson played 57 games in 4 years.
They were trying their
and
best
played 15 or
to
more
get
games
somebody
in
on the
3 of
opposite
his 4
side of
seasons
Josh
with the
Allen,
team.
bro.
So he was a pretty durable player, but he wasn't effective when on the field. He had a then career-high 2 sacks with the Jags in 2023, and unfortunately he only started 11 games with the Jags over 4 years. He signed with the Panthers in the 2023 offseason, but they released him prior to the season starting. A week later, he was signed by the Raiders, where he would go on to play 15 games for them in 2024, in which he had 5 sacks and looked like a better player. Chason will be just 26 years old at the start of the 25 season, and there is a chance he can build off of what he did in 2024, which was being a serviceable
Max
player
Crosby
and more
effect,
or
bro.
less a pass rush specialist. Players like that have a role in the league, and I think there is a chance Chason sticks around longer than people may think due to this, as he is now a member of the Patriots. But ultimately, this grade is based on what he did during his time in Jacksonville. And Jacksonville had 2 first-round picks back in 2020, as they were Caleb Von Chason and corner C.J. Henderson.
Yeah, both of them were draft busts.
Big whiffs. Ultimately, this grade is an F.
Chason, I wouldn't call him a bust right now because of, you know what I'm saying, I'm coming off a solid season, but he was trending towards that. Oh, speaking of draft busts, this nigga right here, he loves some guns, bro. I'll tell you that, gang.
Everyone, when they took
he loves some guns.
With the 19th pick in the first round back in
both of they first round picks got arrested.
Criticism during this time period for first
one of them still in jail.
Rightfully so, but I truly think this was the worst of them all. Clelin Ferrell was a player who had a high floor and was projected in the low to mid-20s of the 2019 draft that was selected at number 4 overall. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, but he was supposed to be a high floor, lower ceiling guy. Henry Ruggs
he was great at
to
Clemson.
Me, a talented player on his way to becoming a really good receiver that made a horrible life decision.
Yeah, man.
But Damon
like I said in my last, you know what I'm saying, 2020 draft reaction, bro, I feel like everybody deserves a second chance, you know what I'm saying? I know he did, you know what I'm saying, what he did was wrong and fucked up and stupid, but if he does, you know what I'm saying, when he does get out of jail, I think he'll be like, what, 26 or something? I think he deserves a second chance. That's just me, you know what I'm saying? But, hey, man, because he got so much potential, bro.
He only played in 13 career NFL
but who
games.
knows, man?
In 13 games, he was
somebody might take a chance on him.
Allowed 31 receptions for 499 yards while allowing a single touchdown to no interceptions. There were so many better players on the board, and to make matters worse, he was released in 2021 after a video of him was released that was not a good look, which is a tremendous understatement, and I'll leave it at that.
You know.
5 years later, this is an F.
Boy.
Austin Jackson of the Dolphins is up, and he was their second of 3 first-round picks on the night. Jackson has been an okay.
The Dolphins had 3 first-round picks. What the fuck?
To describe him. There's games where he plays really well, where he'll pitch a shutout as a pass protector, or maybe allow a single pressure on 35 or 40 pass rushing snaps, which is incredible. Then the following week will allow 5 pressures or 6 pressures on 30 pass blocking snaps and give up a sack as well. There's an old saying that a third of first-round picks are stars, a third are average, and a third are busts, and I think Jackson is pretty close to the epitome of average. He's played in 56 of 84 possible games, which I do think is a hair disappointing because he's not great when he plays, and then you throw in the fact that he's missed a third of his career games, and that's not a great first-round pick by any stretch of the imagination. Having a player who is a gamble as to whether or not he'll play well on any given Sunday is not ideal for the franchise that selected them, but he's also played north of 50 games, which is a lot more than other players can say. He's not a bust, but he's not a hit either, and throw in the fact he's missed a third of his career games, and this is a C-. CeeDee Lamb was the first receiver taken in the 2020 draft, and through 5 years has 4 1,000-yard seasons and technically 4
top 3 receiver in the league,
and has been a terrific player for the Cowboys. Unfortunately, Dak Prescott was injured in October of CeeDee's rookie year, and we bring this up because I think it's fair to say that CeeDee would have rather
it's gonna be weird this year without seeing CeeDee doing a nose wipe celly, bro. NFL, y'all lame as hell for that.
He is quietly working on 3 straight 100 reception, 1,100-yard seasons, and is already a 4-time Pro Bowler at 26 years old. His best year by far was in 2023 when he had an outstanding 135 receptions for 1,749 yards and 12 touchdowns and was named a first-team All-Pro. Naturally, there's a lot of pressure playing for the Cowboys because of how much media attention they get and how often they play on primetime, but there's a lot more pressure when you are a receiver wearing the number 88.
Nah, for real. Dez Bryant, Michael Irvin.
It started back with Drew Pearson, then continued with Michael Irvin, and eventually continued with Dez Bryant too. And in 5 years, CeeDee has over 6,300 receiving yards and is just 4 receptions shy of 500 career catches. I know Justin Jefferson is in the same class as him and has over 1,000 career more receiving yards, but the grade for Lamb is pretty simple. It's an A+. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please like and subscribe, as only about 46% of people watching are subscribed, and the support is very much appreciated. The first half of the first round video is linked above, and until next time, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.
Hey man, shit, I wanna know what you guys think down in the comments below. Y'all let me know what other NFL videos you want to react to. Without further ado, I'm now. Yeah!
I'ma make them feel me, make them people with that charm. And if you know me, I'ma make make sure that you know me. I hate to say it, but I really think I'm broke. But I know I'm chosen, I really know I'm chosen. I know I'm chosen. I was just lost a year ago, but now I'm focused. When good at sports, this microphone can be my trophy. Not taking drugs, I found a better way of coping.